Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives, and I am here with returning guest T. Kyle. T. Kyle, you know, I really see you as a true Renaissance man.
Oh, thank you.
And here's why.
Beyonce?
I feel like you've really designed your career around MTV with Drag Race. Then you ran digital at Watch What Happens Live, plus a stint at The Tonight Show, which we're going to get into if it's not too triggering.
Oh, it's fine.
For you. And now you've added music production to your resume. You're an all-around, like, hilarious delight. You have 2 podcasts.
Thank you.
Legends Only is the weekly show with Bradley Stern, Moo-Moo's, and we cannot bring you on here without talking about the classic It's Britney, Bitch.
Right.
Hi, T. Kyle.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
How are you?
In person.
In person, we're touching.
Yes, we are.
How are you?
No more pandemic Zooms.
How are you doing?
Good.
We're going to talk about everything related to you and your career, but I know that you're a few weeks off a plane from Paris.
I did. My first international trip as an adult.
So here's what I want to know. So I know that you were looking for you would get a passport. Was this a passport renewal?
No, so I had a passport when I was a kid. We went to London. Very vague memory of that, like the basics, like the Buckingham Palace, the bridge, things like that.
Tower Bridge.
The bus, you know?
Yeah, more specifically, the bridge, that's Tower Bridge. It's actually quite beautiful.
Yeah.
I literally just got back from London Saturday night.
I want to go back as like a grown human, you know?
The bag that you have, your little crossbody that you have right here.
Oh my God,
this is
yeah.
what you got this from a local shop in Paris.
Yeah.
Right?
I literally
and you
just
immediately
walked.
became a French influencer. They gave you like a brand deal, like Kyle, whatever, 30.
Yeah, I posted it because I was just like documenting my travels. And then they wrote me and they were like, come back, we'll give you like a discount. And then they set up a code. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
But it was cool. They were like, oh, we just started up a year ago. And they had a storefront. And I'm like, that's so cool. You could like not do that in New York.
And what were your highlights of like the night? Did you do Moulin Rouge?
I did not go, but I went to Crazy Horse Paris.
Talk about Crazy Horse Paris.
I want to creative direct it. I want to like make music for it. I was obsessed with Crazy Horse Paris.
I've never been there.
Oh,
so
you have to
explain from ground zero.
Tits out.
Explain from ground zero what Crazy Horse Paris is.
Okay, so it's sort of like, I don't want to say competition with Moulin Rouge, but kind of. You know, it's like healthy competition, whereas like the Moulin Rouge is more formal, the can, etc. This is, I don't want to say scandalous because it's not really scandalous, but it's like, it's nude art.
I'm imagining, and I know this is not it, but when you say tits out and when you're like scandalous, I'm imagining those places in Thailand.
No.
Where like they're shooting ping pongs.
No, I would have lived for that.
It's a show.
Yeah, it's a show, and the music is all, it's like these little mini artistic acts with projection and the lighting. So like one of the first acts was this dancer who was it was very like Cirque du Soleil, and she was performing inside of a ring. So like, if you ever see like the circus tour with Britney, like they had those people in the rings that were doing acrobats, or like Pink. It's like that, but very sensual. And then everything is projected on them with lighting. So it was like these geometric shapes that were like forming around the human body and around this while she's performing these like crazy stunts. There was also one that was performed. She was like fully wet on like a wheel and just posing. And it was like smoke screens and lasers. And if you've seen the music video for Partition by Beyonce,
of course,
that's 2 of those numbers from Crazy Horse are in the show. So that iconic moment where she's silhouetted on the Chase Lounge with the purple lighting, the dancer literally does that.
So did she take that from something at Crazy Horse?
She worked with the choreographer and like the team there.
Okay.
Learned the routine. So like Beyonce arched on that Partition couch. We saw that number. So I'm like gagging because I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then the reflection pond too. Like when Beyonce kind of like comes up and she has the headpiece, they do that number. So you see that in full as well. I want, and a lot of Britney.
What did they
did
play?
Toxic. They did Oops, I Did It Again twice. And they did Baby One More Time.
They did Oops, I Did It Again twice?
Yeah. There was like one full number and then a reference to it, like a little snippet. it was like a jazzy, sultry, oops, I did it again.
Oh, I love that.
And the Toxic was also like very like slowed down.
Didn't Britney once do like a jazzy, slowed down version of Oops at the VMAs? Or it was, I think it was Oops.
Onyx, she did like the jazz.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah, I love. I think
she would have loved it. She would have loved it or hated it, but I think love. So
and I love it. Was funny. I remember the last time I was like, "What?" Like the T Kyle, and you said like your first name is Timothy.
Oh yeah.
Is that ever an issue? Like legal? Like has that ever been an issue with like a job or whatever?
It's confused people before where they're
but
like,
you just go by Kyle.
Yeah, I always went by. It's funny when I was like a little kid, all my like kindergarten papers say T Kyle. Like
really?
I always went by T Kyle. I was always called T Kyle as a kid. And like this one girl, like I've told this story before, like this one girl like made fun of me in college, and I'm like, you're a loser, because I explained, I'm like, oh, you know, because they're doing roll call, so they call me by my legal name, and I'm like, oh, but you can call me T Kyle, and she like raised her hand, she's like, oh, you can call me cyan, like the color. I'm like, okay, fucking loser, like what are you trying to make fun of me because what is this? But yeah, so for most people, I'm just like, oh, it's Kyle. My
And
name.
everything is at T Kyle for you.
Yeah, because it's like when I have to tell people like, oh, here's my paperwork, and they're like, who the hell is that? It's also kind of like an alias in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who cares?
Stage name. I think about this all the time. I think about this all the fucking time. So my favorite person ever to come out of American Idol is Adam Lambert.
Yes.
My favorite
He's
person.
also so sweet and so nice.
Oh, because he did Idol. I mean, the new Idol. He showed up at my friend's Fire Island share house last summer, and he told the story on the pod. I had never been like more envious in my life. I don't know why I think of this all the time. I'm certain if I ever I've tried so many times to interview Adam Lambert. It's always like 4 minutes later, I always get an immediate email back like it's a no, he's busy. If I ever interview him, I want to know if it were up to him, he absolutely would have gone by a stage name.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Adam Lambert. Sorry.
Right.
And so I want to know what his stage name would have been had he had the choice.
Nice. That's another thing people do now is they have like side projects where they're like, you know, the audience will know them for this like one specific thing.
AJ McLean. Remember he had a side project under another name?
It's a thing. Like people do it.
What was that project? I remember he had like some other name.
I forget.
Anyway,
but like Cascade did it at one point. Like they made like a new Cascade. Like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
People do it all. Like Martin Garrix has one, and like they did an EP, and then like never did it again. But it was like, yeah, it's like aliases. Like why not? Like you can literally publish stuff anonymously now. It's kind of cool. It's freeing in a way.
Well, welcome home.
Yes.
I think there's so much that I want to chat with you about, but you actually just today, you posted something that I so related to. It was basically about repurposing content.
Oh my God.
Can we talk about this?
Yes.
I know this is kind of random, but I related to this so deeply. So basically the original tweet/thread was, if you're publishing content daily, we're both content creators.
Yeah.
If you're publishing content daily, remember these 3 facts. 1, 75% of your followers didn't see it. 2, 80% of your followers won't remember. And 3, 100% of your new followers most likely never saw that.
Yep.
So the moral is repurpose often. Nobody remembers your content like you remember your content. Yep. What inspired you to comment on this?
Well, for me, I've kind of like, I've shifted gears like 3 times in my like online career, I would say. And so I used to make memes, right? That would be like trendy for a hot second. And then they kind of like make their way to Facebook a couple weeks.
This was reality
later.
TV.
Yeah, I would always make content that was very topical or fleeting. And so I never thought like, oh, let me repost this over and over again because like it already went viral. Or I'm trying to think of something like the Angela Bassett did the thing remix that I did. That was very specific for that week. So I never once was like, let me ever repost something. And then now I'm just I'm opening my mind to it because I follow so many artists that repost all the time, or they like constantly drill down a remix that they did, or they constantly share that they're coming out with a new book, or they push out a podcast episode like 20 times over the course of a month. And I never like unfollow or like think anything of it. If I see it and I see it again, I'm like, cool, awesome. Like I never think anything negative.
And most likely it's, if that were me, if it was something that went by or something that I made a mental note that I want to go listen to, it'd be like, oh good, like I remember, and I'll like grab the link that time.
Yeah. And so I would notice people on TikTok reposting all the time and it working, getting to new people and reaching a new audience. Or like I would find myself, there was an album I actually found on TikTok right before I went to Paris, and then I looked up and it had come out a year ago, and this artist was just repurposing the content literally over and over and over again for an entire year. And I'm like, oh, why don't I do this? Like, why don't I just try it, even though I feel like I'm being annoying?
What was the thing that you reposted, and what were the stats?
My Janet Jackson remix that I did last summer, which had a little bit of a moment. There actually was conversations that kind of trickled its way to like her team. And so then it fizzled out. And so I was like, okay, well, this is over. But then it was the 20th anniversary of Demita Joe. And I'm like, well, why don't I just repurpose this and push it out? Even though I'm like cringing, you know that feeling? I'm like cringing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to post this again. And is everyone going to be unfollowing? But then it went crazy and I got all these followers from it and all these people who were like, oh, this mix is so cool. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's because like people are not paying attention like I am. Like I remember every post, or like you get so caught up in your own head overthinking the caption and the placement and the lighting and does this look okay, or did I mess up the words in my recording? Nobody cares.
See, I've had this experience where I've been doing this show for like 5 years now at this point. And last summer, I reached a new audience with this Fire Island docuseries that I had created.
So good, by the way.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
You could repurpose that forever.
What do you mean?
Like that is evergreen. That is history.
Well, yeah, like World AIDS Day and
but there's always going to be new people that discover Fire Island.
Yes, I'm hoping that
like people, literally rediscover it. Like I think of baby gays that are going to go to Fire Island to party, but then they're going to get older and be like, oh wait, there's history here.
Yes.
And then they're going to stumble upon your podcast and be like, oh wait, this is really cool.
Yes. Yeah. And so I reached this whole new audience with that, who then started following me and paying attention to hot takes. Meanwhile, I have a whole back catalog. Like, they don't know about my Rosie interview. They don't know about my Sandra Bernard interview. Things that I worked so hard to secure and were successful. It's like, but
we just did a replay, our first one with Legends Only, and I was like so nervous. I was like,
your very first episode?
We called it a replay of
autobiography.
Yes. And I'm like, well, we have new listeners, like same thing. And I was like, oh my God, people are going to unfollow. They're going to be so mad. But no, it's like there were so many people who didn't know that we did that.
I think the people who have heard stuff before, they may not re-listen to it, but then you have the upside is so great to and also that's like great for new people. It's like you're giving people a get, like rather than digging back. So anyway, I loved that you tweeted that today. I was like, like I feel seen, because nobody ever talks about that. Oh, actually, related to Fire Island, I know you're newly into Nick Gaga. Honey, I discovered Nick Gaga. If you go back on my Instagram, I have videos from 5 years ago. And Cherry Grove, I'm a Cherry Grove guy. The Assassins, I feel like I did. Like no one was fucking talking about them before I was. And I was like, this is unbelievable. And I love that Nick gets now like kind of blown up.
Yeah, but like I love the Balcone venue. I'm not trying to take away business from them, but like Nick Gaga needs to take that to a ticketed, I think could sell out Webster Hall with that Chromatica ball. Did you see the new one?
Yes.
Wait, were you at the Chromatica ball one? Or the Born This Way?
I did the Born This Way.
Oh my God, I was there.
Yeah.
I was upstairs.
Yeah, I was upstairs too.
So fucking hard to see. Yeah, we need to get Nick Gaga in a venue that like you can see everything from wherever you go.
My favorite, the best, when you're on Fire Island. Do you ever go to Fire Island?
Well, it's been a long time. My housemates had all this drama. I busted my head open. Yeah.
Oh, I could do a whole new interview just on that.
Also, speaking of Fire Island, crazy memory, Billy Porter came to one of our houses. Like, it was like we were doing brunch and we're sitting outside and Billy Porter comes and sits down with me and my friend. And I'm playing like nonchalant at that point because I'm like not going to, be like freak out. Casual, just hanging
amazing.
out with Billy Porter. And I was like, I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my mind, like, are you fucking kidding me? This is like so chill and so cool.
Taking it back very quickly, Nick Gaga, to close the loop on that, you will always see Nick Gaga standing in between, like, you know how like he goes in and out of the show?
Yeah. Interludes.
Always chain smoking a cigarette. And also, I have run into him eating a slice of pizza.
I mean,
Carbo loading before the big show. I'm like, how are you dancing like chain smoking outside the little doors of Cherries on the bay?
Gaga did it. Britney did it. It's kind of iconic. Like,
okay, T. Kyle, like I said, like I really do see you as like a Renaissance man.
oh, thanks.
I wanted to talk about the highlights of your career, like how you navigated through all of these. I mean, it's all the same industry, which is entertainment,
Yeah.
but they're different tentacles of the entertainment industry. And I so admire how you've been able to, I mean, a lot of it is luck, but it's also, they say luck is when opportunity meets preparation, when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I know you started out, I know you went to FIT for graphic design, and it seems like your first gig was at MTV working for season 3 Drag Race. That was one of the main jobs you had. So what did you contribute to season 3 Drag Race?
So I was an intern at Logo at the time. And my boss at the time, who is now creative director for NYX, Rory Rockmore, he does incredible stuff. He was like, oh, this kid, like, I see talent in him. Like, does anyone else want to use him for like anything to like help out? And they're like, oh, well, we're working on Drag Race season 3 creative direction. Do you wanna? And I'm like, absolutely. And it wound up that I was like literally doing the mood boards for the shoot. And so I was coming up with ideas and lighting ideas and makeup ideas and pulling inspirations from Hilary Duff music videos. So like there's the one promo where Rue is backlit and there's the silhouette is literally from my mood board where I pulled the Hilary Duff Fly music video where she's standing on the stage and there's the light behind her and she's silhouetted. That's the inspiration pull. And then the other one was like from a Kelly Clarkson music video. So I got to pull mood boards and then see
what was the Kelly Clarkson video?
I think My Life Would Suck Without You, where there's all the almost like football stadium. What are those? I don't know. Stadium lights that are behind her and they go and they like pulse behind her. That was another inspiration. So yeah, I got to like pull mood boards and then see it all come to fruition and like watch the retoucher do the key art and then get to work with those PSDs. And so I'm like, oh my God, I want to do more of this. And then they brought me on as like a part-time freelancer. And so I designed tote bags and I did the key art for Drag U. Like I actually laid out the key art for the one season. And I basically just was like, I'll do whatever. And that was back when interns, we didn't make money, but I was like, I want to do this. So like, I'll do whatever it takes. Like I'll learn whatever I have to. But it was so fun.
So it was in between that and obviously Watch What Happens Live that you started reality TV gifts. Mm-hmm. And that was something that even like housewives were reposting. Like, was that the start of your personal brand? Was your name on the reality TV gifts site?
No. It started out because I had a GIF folder on my work computer and I was like the one that would always send GIFs in. It was like AIM. You connected your AOL Instant Messenger name to the Apple app. Was it oh my God.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was AOL Instant Messenger hooked up to the Mac. And I would send GIFs all the time to my coworkers. And then they would take them, save them. They would use them. And it became this like running meme where there were certain GIFs that were like the go-to GIFs. And I was like, okay, well, I need more. And I want to keep them somewhere that people can view them because then AOL Messenger shut down. So I just put them on Tumblr. I was like, oh, they'll be on Tumblr and now anyone can go there and save them. And then it just grew and grew and grew through Tumblr. But I was anonymous. And then it wasn't until later that I was like, oh, hi, me,
Right. And so your path to Watch What Happens Live, obviously that's like the root of it. How did I know with Watch What Happens Live, you had thrown your name out, but they weren't hiring yet for a digital person. And then suddenly there was an opening.
Yeah.
And they had remembered you. I think they had invited you to be a bartender.
Yeah. I had worked with Bravo on some promotional stuff, and they were like, oh, we want to have you as the bartender. It's kind of like a give and take of like, you helped us out, blah, blah, blah. Well,
what was the promotional stuff?
Oh, I think it was like Roni season 1 was re-airing or
What
something.
A time. What a
iconic.
Time.
That was like the gif of Jill getting her nose licked out by the dog. And they were doing some kind of countdown to a new season or something. And then they had me be a bartender, and that's when I met the staff there. And so many people that worked there who would then soon be later my coworkers, like they loved my website. So when I got there, they're like, oh my God, we love your website here. And yeah, they took my resume, and 3 years later, I just got an email randomly one morning from Casey. And she's like, hey, we thought about you. There's a job opening. What are you up to? And I was like, I'm literally thinking about leaving New York because I can't find a job. What do you guys need? And so I got a job within, it was days. It was literally like within days, I was like, hi, yes. They were like, here's your offer. Can you start tomorrow? And I was like, yes.
And so you were originally hired as what?
Digital producer I think digital producer.
And under that, I know that you created like on Facebook, like the Walkabout at the time, the thing, the system to like take questions or whatever. And like you would like really made your mark like at what your contributions are like you could really bullet them out and be like, I created XYZ.
I did double our YouTube views in my first year. I ruffled a lot of feathers doing it, but I am proud of that.
Take me into like your day to day.
Okay. So my day to day was anything that touched a digital screen and outputted, I was responsible for, but it was live pretty much 4 nights a week. When I started, we were 100% live. And then I think it was known that Thursday was always pre-recorded. Mm-hmm. So you'd get there, you'd post and collect questions so that the research team would be like, hey, so-and-so's here. What do you guys want to ask? Because we did take questions. We read everything. So helping the research team out, and they would look at all of that. The show would happen. We'd sit there. I'd make notes of everything that people said, things that I thought would be headlines the next day, things that I thought would maybe, ruffle some feathers with other cast members. But like, I wasn't like evil in my intentions. But yeah, we would pull clips and then publish them. So like the back end, clipping the footage, getting the footage, making the thumbnails, and it is not
writing the copy, writing the headline.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if the system has improved, but like getting a 2-minute clip on bravotv.com back then took a very long time. It was like it had to be encoded through this one service and then run all these checks and then blah, blah, blah. Then you had to push it out. And it was very janky and old. And some nights we'd be there till like 3:30 in the morning, but we'd publish everything out. And then as social media changed, getting graphics up, clips up, viral moments up, anything like that to the social platforms, Facebook, YouTube, etc. And then, yeah, making original content. So like graphics, or if it was a holiday or a birthday or someone's, Andy's birthday, we would make, like a birthday graphic, and I would be able to use my design chops too.
Well, they would also do that when they would have like big, like I remember when Gaga came through to promote
Yes.
Art Pop.
Yes.
Were you there for that?
I was not there for Gaga.
Where she wore the seashell.
Yeah, it was before my time, but
that was so like they would always create.
Celine, I was there for Celine, like when they did our
Dion.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
like the graphic design team like put Andy on the boat, so it was
The
like
Titanic.
Celine, and so like there are graphic designers there that do all the hilarious stuff that you see like on screen. There's a graphic design team, shout out to Paul and Teddy, who would do all of that, and then like we would take that and then put it on digital, so we would like make little mixes of it.
Were you there for Mariah?
Yes.
Tell me about Mariah.
I fucking love her. Oh, am I allowed to curse
Of
on here?
course.
Okay, I don't know.
I've said fuck like 5 times.
Okay. So the first time we did Mariah, I'll never forget it. It was very late, so she had her show at the Beacon Theater, and then did the show, performed the show, and then came to do Watch What Happens Live after. So it was like 11 something or like midnight. But like that's my witching hour, because like that's when I start like my work day is like Watch What Happens Live just wraps. It's 11:30 p.m. Everyone else is getting ready to go home, but like my work day starts then. So she shows up and
So wait, were you working all night?
oh yeah. Yeah, I was like, I would go to bed at like 5 a.m.
Oh, wow.
But then like, you know, I don't have to be at work till 4 p.m. the next day. So like everyone's going to happy hour. I'm grabbing my iced coffee for to start my day. But
okay, Mariah.
yeah, so she walks in and she had a little glass of champagne and she was like wishing everyone a happy holidays, because it was around the holidays. And what did she say? It was something like, oh, I just got done with the show. Oh, too bad none of you could be there. Because like she knew we were all working, but it was like really funny. And then they wanted to do a video to promote the show. And they're like, oh, get T. Kyle to like film it. And I'm like, oh my God. Because like at this time, I'm like deer in headlights. I'm socially anxious. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to talk to anyone. Just tell me what to do and I will like do it. And
you know what's so funny? I'm like I don't run towards celebrities, but if I'm in the presence, like I come alive. Like like my whole thing, I try to do bits with them. Like I have done so many bits with Andy, like over the fucking years, and like I just want to have like a funny. Even Bethany did something with me once.
Oh.
Yeah, at the season 10 finale, Luann's first cabaret at 54
Yes.
Below. I found Bethany coming out of the bathroom, and she agreed to like do a mention at all.
what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
Yeah.
God.
For some reason, I'm not shy. Like I'm like I want to create a moment that I can.
Oh no,
then
I was
distribute.
like, I was so shy to the point where I'm pretty sure they all thought that I didn't want to be there. That's how shy I was. And I'm like, no, it's not that I don't want to be here. It's just that I'm like terrified. Just like I want to do my job and like not talk to anybody. But we have grown out of that shell over the past many years. But yeah, so they're like, oh, get T. Kyle. We'll film this in this room. And they put me, Andy, Mariah Carey, and her makeup artist, Christopher Buckle.
I love him.
I love him in a room, the four of us, and close the door. And I know that like every single one of my coworkers is out in like waiting for us to leave the room. And I know they all think that I'm about to like faint or fall over. And I don't know what the universe did to me in that moment, but like I was good. I was not sweating. And I'll never forget it. She was standing next to me and she wanted to adjust her boot. And she put one finger on my shoulder to hold her balance. And she was like, oh, and she's like, yeah. And we filmed this little video. And then there was another funny moment where, because she remembers people. That's the thing too, is like she complimented my coworker's necklace that night. And when she came back, she was like, oh, you're the boy with the beautiful necklace, like the lion necklace.
Oh.
And he was like, he was shook. He was like, I could not believe she remembered that she complimented my necklace the last time she was here. And so I'm going to film like a little snippet while she was on our like blue carpet, and I was on the wrong side. If you know, you know.
Of course.
And she did not skip a beat. And she was like, darling, you're on the wrong side. Like so loud. And it like, there's a video of it, which I will cherish forever.
Now, Countess Luann.
Oh, the queen.
Now, you have really been on a journey with her.
Oh yeah. The lore is iconic.
This has been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Okay. My first question is, why did she send you a cease and desist?
Yeah. So this was kind of ahead of its time, I will say. I started making merch on reality TV gifts, like way back when. And I got a takedown letter, and they filed like a thing with Society 6 to take down all of my merch.
It was just a thing of her.
Yeah, I did an illustration of like, be cool, don't be all uncool.
You drew it.
Yeah, I did. In Adobe Illustrator. She's, it's so cute. Like, I should give it to her and be like, you should resell these again.
She now would be totally on board.
Oh, of course. And like, I did the Dorinda one, and yeah, so I was like just trying to make a little bit extra money to like, keep my website going. And I get a takedown notice, and then like you need to call me from like her manager at the time. And it was like a very hostile conversation of like, you don't own the rights to this and like blah, 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 which they were correct. It's called personality rights. They spilled, but like, come on. You know what I mean? I'm like, really? Like, what do you think I'm doing? Like, not living a luxurious life here.
Now, flashing forward to today.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to go on how you became a music producer and creator, but can you really walk me through Did you originate the serving cunt thing?
It was a meme. Like the cameo was already
Yes, it came from a cameo.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the story. Somebody had put in a cameo request.
Yes. And it was kind of a trend with housewives. Like people were doing these ridiculous cameos. There's the Ramona one. She's like kind of inebriated, maybe allegedly, in my own personal opinion, where she's like, hey, it's okay to be gay and a little feminine too. Like that one went viral. The Teresa one went viral of like, I heard you have chlamydia. So then someone sent one to Luann, and I think it was a trend where people were like, let's just have these housewives say ridiculous stuff. So that one went viral, like I think a year before I made my mix.
So wait, what Luann's was?
She's like, and I hope you keep on serving cunt. Okay. That's it. Like, it's just a little clip of, I don't even know who, still to this day, I have not found the person who, like, we need them to come forward. Because
if you're listening to this.
Yeah, still to this day, no idea.
Please DM me or Kyle.
I'm still trying to find whoever it was. But.
So a year later.
Yeah, so like a year later, the Rihanna Super Bowl happens. I'm trying to recreate the beat of Rude Boy, like that Rude Boy section, because like that's how I practice, is like I'll pick something that I like and I try to recreate it. So I'm in bed, I recreate this beat, I'm trying to like learn the drum pattern, and the edible's hitting, and I go to my meme folder and I pulled out like all these random sound bits. So there was a Christina one actually that's like, it's all Christina sounds on the same beat. There's an HRH collection one, and then I pulled Luann, and I saved all of them, and I played the one for Brad. I'm like, oh, what do you think of this? And he's like, his jaw hit the floor.
I hope you keep on serving cunt. Keep on serving cunt, 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 cunt. Keep on serving cunt, 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 cunt. Okay. Keep on serving cunt, 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 cunt. Keep on serving cunt, cunt, cunt. Okay.
And I was like, what do you mean you scrapped that? He's like, you need to post that like immediately. And I'm like, is it funny? Like, I don't think people are going to get it. And he's like, no, you need to post that now. And so in 24 hours, I like whipped up this little video and put it out, and the rest is history. But that's the origin of it. It was like literally I was edibled in my bed trying to make Rihanna's Super Bowl sound, and just slapped in Luann and Christina Aguilera, cut out Christina and kept Luann.
And then, of course, it gets to Luann, and now it's part of her cabaret show.
Yep.
So how did you become aware of that?
So I sent it to them. Her team reached out and was like, would you be fine if you sent us the stems? I'm like, oh, funny how the tables turn. Okay. But I'm like, of course I will. Like, are you kidding?
My, oh my, how
I'm
the
like,
tables have turned.
Like, I imagine this is what the creative director who did Beyonce's Renaissance tour feels. But like, this is my version of that, you know? Yeah. Because I did like a tour interlude for Trisha Paytas a while ago. Mm-hmm. So like when Luann's people were like, we want to put this in the show, I'm like, duh, of course. Take what you want.
Incredible. So your path to even becoming a music producer, the decision to leave Watch What Happens Live, you were there for 4 years.
Yeah.
You went from Watch What Happens Live to The Tonight Show. Uh-huh. Was that a hard decision?
It was. It was not easy at all. I felt really comfortable at Watch What Happens Live. Like I felt, I don't know, it was like my people. Like it was my world. It was very gay, and like I loved my coworkers and like my mini team that I had. I was like, I don't want to leave anybody. Like I was so comfortable there. And the opportunity was like presented to me as like, hey, like a friend of mine who I actually worked with at MTV, like hit me up and was like, hey, would you even like think about this? Like, because obviously like there had to be conversations behind the scenes because they're friends. Like Andy and Jimmy are friends. So they're like, we're not going to just poach you and like have it be this, like it had to be a known conversation. And I'm like, yeah, because for me, the reason why it perked my interest was because I would watch all the music performances. Mm-hmm. So I thought of like
right, because your dream, and maybe it still is, but the dream that you would talk about is that you wanted to work for huge artists
Yeah.
and produce their live shows and merch.
Yeah. So like when we did BravoCon, I was obviously like there, but I was not part of like putting together the production. I was like, I watched everything and like was in rehearsals. And that is the other thing I really loved about Watch What Happens Live is it felt like drama club where like everyone could kind of help in any way, shape, or form. Like if someone needed like help with makeup, like my digital producer Michael would be like, I can help you curl your hair, or like I can help you do this, I can stone a prop, do you need someone to sit in on rehearsal, I got you. Like it was very much this blend of like everyone wore 10 hats, and I loved that. So when we did BravoCon, I'm like, oh my God, this like live production aspect is so cool. I wish I could do more of this. Yeah, so the Tonight Show, like I'd obviously watched, I thought of like Solange did a live performance there, which I think is like off the internet now. I mean, I'm sure you can find it, but like that's where my mind went of like these artists come here and they do these really unique performances on late night. And I just want to be in that vicinity, like, because we just didn't do that. At Watch What Happens Live, it was all talk based and, you know, not, I mean, we had like Erica Jane, who kicked us out of a rehearsal once.
And you had Luann and her daughter doing
Yeah.
Girl Code.
Yes. Oh my God. And when she did the ponytail performance,
Yes.
and I feel like I'm probably giving away too much info, but like who cares? It's fun. She had the high ponytail, and we were doing sound check, and she's adjusting the ponytail, and she's like, we were like, Ariana, like we're just hyping them up because like that's the point, is like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be fun and unserious. So obviously if Luann shows up in a high ponytail, we're gonna be screaming like, oh my God, she's giving Ariana, like that's the point. It's supposed to be fun.
So you eventually leave, you get to the Tonight Show, and of course, like it coincides with the pandemic hitting. But I mean, you were there for like how long?
It was a whirlwind. It happened. They made me the offer there, and I had like 1 week to give notice, which I was like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And it was like right around Christmas and the holidays. But I did it because I wanted to, like, I had done an interview with Andy on Radio Andy about Britney podcast, and we talked about, he's like, when you first started, you were so quiet. And I'm like, yeah, I was a deer in headlights, because I told myself the first year I need to show results, because I want you to know that, because like I look up to you. Like this is what I said to him, like, I look up to you. I watched you all in college. You are such an inspiration. I'm not going to sit here and fucking take pictures with celebrities and be an asshole. Like, no, I'm like, you're paying me to do a job. You told me the mission was, I want more eyeballs on the show. That was my direction. And I said, okay, we're going to get you more eyeballs on the show. And I did. So once I reached that barrier, I was like, okay, I can let loose a little bit. Like, like let me relax and like have fun. But yeah, so I said to him, I'm like, yeah, well, I wanted to prove to you that I take this seriously. Maybe took it too seriously in hindsight, but yeah, I knew that I was at the next phase of needing to push myself out of my comfort zone, because there were still insecurities that I had. I still wasn't comfortable with talent and like working with talent and like, you know, doing all of that. So yeah, the opportunity presented itself, and it just happened so smoothly that I figured like this is the right path.
What was your personal journey there? Like clearly it was a very different experience than your time at Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah.
Like you've described it as just like utter burnout, like worked into the ground. Like what was the working environment like that wasn't jiving with you and what you like? Were you able to work with artists, like get a closer look at how the musical performances were crafted? Like,
yeah,
did you get that opportunity?
Yeah, we were able to watch rehearsals. So artists would come in. Like I remember Doja Cat did a really cool performance of Say So, and we got to watch the dress rehearsal and see them put together the set. So I was like watching them build the set, and one of my favorite memories was the props closet, the wig closet, and the makeup people. Like the makeup, props, hair people, and the wardrobe team. I was like, if I could sit here all day with all of you, I would, because there's literally a wig room. There was a massive wardrobe room. There was a dedicated hair team. So like anytime you would see the bits and like the actors and anyone come on, they were like transforming people from the morning meeting to 5 p.m. coming up. It was like idea born in the morning and executed by 5 p.m. Like it was insane how they were able to make this happen. And I got to tour the props closet once, and I was like, oh my God, this is a dream. Like, you could literally make anything you want in this room. And there's so many cool people that you don't see behind the scenes who like make all of that happen. But yeah, so I did get to see it, but it was chaos. I mean, I went from working with 30 people and single-handedly touching everything digital. Like my coworker and I at Watch What Happens Live, the two of us, we had the same skill set. So like either of us was able to cover for one another. So I touched everything, to then being on this team of 200 plus, where like everyone has a very specific role and you don't overstep.
What was your specific role?
Head of digital. So I led a team of 4 doing everything digital and social, which is a huge undertaking. It was a lot. It was huge. I mean, there was so much that went out every single day. And then obviously you had, corporate and legal, and like there was a much more focused magnifying glass with everything there. And I'll never forget, like one of the first bits that I did was we did with Will Smith, who's like, I mean, this is a very different context at that current time than there is today, just so everyone knows. But at the time, I'm like, this is the most famous movie star. And he had a whole team with him, a whole social team dedicated to him. And we were doing this bit in the hallway. And at this point, I threw out all insecurities and hesitations, because I'm like, there's no time for it. Like, I don't have time to worry about this. I know what I want this to look like. And it was a bit where like Will jumped into a coffee mug. Mm-hmm. We did a perspective, and I moved a coffee cup. I moved the coffee cup because it was out of alignment. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'll just move it. And I got ripped for doing that, because it's a union, and I respect this. I'm like, obviously I respect this, but like there are people whose job it is to touch the props. So like I got yelled at for like moving lights and moving furniture and like just adjusting and turning a cup. And it was like this big thing of like, that is not your place. This is a union. You do not touch this. If you need this, it was very like, it was hostile. It was like hostile, where I'm just trying to help. Like, I'm sitting right here. Let me just move the friggin' coffee cup. But like, then I understood, like, if that lamp in your apartment, if I needed it turned, I couldn't just stand up and turn it. I had to email and be like, hey, I need this lamp moved.
So frustrating.
And there was layers and 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 layers to it. And it was hard, and it was very long days, but like it was chaos.
What was your breaking point?
Oh.
Like the thing that led you to be like, I actually like can't do this one more day.
Well, I didn't really feel, and this is just my perception, and like I'm much more at peace with it now, but like as a very obviously flamboyant gay man, I didn't necessarily feel that welcome in that environment. It was like it was like very, I felt it was, but then I also choke it up to like, it was my, the beginning, it was chaos, and, I don't know. I didn't feel welcome in the way that I felt at
Were
Watch
there
What Happens Live.
Were there just not a lot of other gay people on the staff?
No, not like, I was like, oh, because I've been around gays, Logo TV, like, or not just gays, but like the LGBTQ plus community, like Drag Race, and working with, that for so many years, and then working in Watch What Happens Live, and doing things like, something would happen and Andy would speak out and speak up for like a law that just passed, and he would get very passionate. And like, I didn't realize how much I loved doing that until I was pulled out of it. And it was like dad jokes and like, and there's an audience for everything. I'm not like shitting on it, but like, it just didn't vibe with me. But the music vibed with me. Like, I loved the acts that we got, and like the head of music there. Oh, I love her. She's so ahead of the curve. And I said the reason I came here is because the music is the best music in late night. The taste level is always ahead of the curve. You always have the artist that's just about to break. Like, that's why I'm here. And so, yeah, the pandemic was chaotic, and there was like all the stuff with, the SNL video resurfaced and spread like wildfire on Twitter. And
which SNL video?
the blackface video from SNL.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I saw that and I was like, hey, this is an opportunity for people to like, it's a learning lesson. Why don't we just like, instead of trying to sweep it under the rug, like, hey, like, this is a learning lesson.
He was doing a Chris Rock impression.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Essentially, the fact that it couldn't get taken off Twitter, because like that's not how trending topics work. Like, you know, social media, I can't just like erase a trending topic. I felt like people thought I really like dropped the ball. Like it was my fault that this trended on Twitter. And I'm like, it's not my fault that this trended on Twitter. Like it's a trending topic. And so everything just felt very much like constant criticism, constant, you know, oh, well, you should be grateful to work here. Like, it just was negative. Like, it was just negative. And I got to this point where it was like, the insurrection happened, all of that stuff. Like, it was the pandemic election. Everything was so chaotic. I'm working from 7:30 in the morning to midnight, 1 a.m. every night. And I just was like, I got vaccinated and I said, fuck it. I'm out. Like, I'm fun. I know I'm creative. I'm well-intentioned. I come here to work hard and to make cool stuff, to entertain people. And that's the point of entertainment. I'm like, why is this so chaotic and negative? And everyone's walking around on eggshells to make people laugh. Like, that makes no sense to me. I'm like, so I just got to this point where I was like, I'm either going to jump out my window, and I'm not being like, what's the word? Hyperbolic when I say that. Like, I literally was in therapy and I said to her, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm just going to like throw myself out my window. And she's like, no, we're not going to do that. And yeah, so I worked really hard in therapy to get to the point where I was like, bye. Like, remember why I did this, what I want to do. Go somewhere where my skill set and my talents will be appreciated and not like thrown in my face. But yeah,
I completely understand.
Yeah,
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there was like an incident too where like someone made like kind of a homophobic comment, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. This is like not the vibe.
Yeah.
Like, someone was like mocking. It wasn't Jimmy. Jimmy and I had a good relationship, to be honest. To set the record straight, Jimmy wrote me a very sweet letter when I left. It was actually really funny. Like, he wrote me a really funny comment. I feel like we could have vibed more if we knew each other in person.
Yeah.
It was literally, like, I tell people, I'm like, it was 2 months and then the world shut down. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, but yeah, someone was like mocking a gay person, and I was like, is that comedy coming from like, I have a good sense of humor and I can make fun of myself, but like, that didn't feel like comedy to me. So yeah, I just felt like I felt like a square trying to fit into a circle, you know? Like, let me just go be gay somewhere else. Kind of was the vibe.
Well, a place where you were gay somewhere else and thriving was, so prior to, while you were still at Watch What Happened. No, in 2018 is when you did the Britney podcast.
Yeah.
So where were you working at that time?
Watch What Happens Live.
You were still Watch What Happens Live. So there are two podcasts that I think celebrate pop artists in the most brilliant way possible. It's Britney Bitch, which is the anthology that you did with Bradley, who now that spun off into Legends Only, which you do weekly. Yep. The body of work that you created with It's Britney Bitch. And I have friends who do this show called All I Want to Do Is Talk About Madonna.
Nice.
And wait, let me tell you the pitch for how that, because I'm like, this is insane. So they've been doing it now for years and years. Every episode, they go song by song, album by album. So like episode 1 is Lucky Star. But there's no skip. So even the shittiest track on Hard Candy or the shittiest track on...
Are there any? No.
They just finished Hard Candy, actually.
Nice.
They've finished Hard Candy, and they just did the Sticky and Sweet tour. Because they do the tours also.
Those live mixes from that tour are so good.
Well, it's out now. You can stream it anywhere. Everywhere. But they've been doing this for years, and that's even a bigger undertaking than It's, you know, I was explaining the concept of It's Britney Bitch. They're both so brilliant conceptually.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the idea for It's Britney Bitch?
It hit me in a cab when I was coming home from Watch What Happens Live. I'll never forget it. I was like...
Where you were gay and celebrated.
Yeah, and I'm just daydreaming out the window. It's like probably 3 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and I'm staring out the window just daydreaming, and I texted Brad and I said, because it was late, and I'm like, do not let me forget this idea. I just thought of this idea where we do a podcast that dedicates to the 20-year anniversary. We can trick everyone and do a countdown website and have everyone think it's going to be her team, because like the humor behind it at first was like, we always felt like her team and her label like never really respected her art. And I think we could fast forward to now, I think we can still say that. But like the idea was to like do a countdown, and I drew a logo and everything. It was like it was a B and a 20 that made a heart, like a Britney heart. And we were going to like count down to the 20-year anniversary of Baby One More Time, and then be like, see, we told you they didn't do anything for her, so we did, was like the vibe. And we were going to drop it all at once. And so I just texted him this idea, and I'm like, it's in the middle of the night. He probably thinks I'm crazy, but like he puts up with me. And this was like February at some point, and then we didn't record the first episode until July or August that year. So it was like, just like put a pin in this. Don't let me forget.
And the concept for It's Britney, Bitch is every episode is a year in her career, and including personal life as well. So anything that happened that year, whether it be like a single, an appearance, a tour, a video. Yeah. So the episodes are like 1998, 1999, and so on.
Yeah. What was cool about it is like, we didn't realize it until we really started getting into it, about how it's so much more of a personal diary than like...
For you too?
Yeah, because we were like, in our mind, we had an outline, so we built out all the facts and the dates and the singles and the albums and the release dates. But then as we're talking and as it keeps going on, it's like, oh, our whole life revolved around this.
My Madonna boys, same thing. So much of it's like, this is when he met his husband.
Yeah.
Like this was their first, we went on our first date right before the whatever tour, or right before I watched this video. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Music
makes people come together.
It does.
And then, of course, you spun that off into Legends Only, which you've been doing ever since.
Yeah.
Now, there is an sort of an unknown podcast that you did. You were recruited.
Oh, yes.
To produce.
Yeah.
You said that you'd be open to talking about this. So I want to talk about this. So you and I are both huge Wendy Williams fans.
Oh, The Blueprint?
The Blueprint, truly.
Yeah.
Like, Wendy and Howard are like my two radio. That's who I listen to.
Yeah.
Like high school, college, like beyond my first job, I would sit and listen with headphones, downloading episodes onto an iPod. Yeah. Because that was what we listened to.
Oh my gosh. I remember those days.
Downloading episodes off of Napster and then like copying the files over. Like that's how I would fill my days.
Yeah.
That's why I was always an easy podcast listener. Like I was like, oh.
You get it. Yeah.
I've always been like an auditory learner. Let's talk about Wendy Williams.
Okay.
So you were approached to EP her podcast?
Essentially, yeah, like a one-man production of it. Yeah.
What was the time frame?
Well, I had kind of had a good rapport. Like when I would start making the memes and like the Wendy Williams memes, people that worked on her show and were in her orbit were aware of like what I was doing. And there was even like at one point like a job opening at the Wendy Williams show that was like possibility with doing social. And then when this was like one of the highlights of my time working at Fallon. I got to meet her. She came to the Tonight Show to announce her divorce. It was like she was going to sit with Jimmy and say on the air, and it was going to be kind of like the story was like the point. And I got to meet her backstage, her stylist let me come in and meet her. And we had this really great meeting. And she was very complimentary. She was like, you do the social media here? And like her very Wendy, she was like, it's really good. She was like, our team, could use a couple notes. Like she was being like typical Wendy, like you know how she is. And we had this really great meeting and I was explaining to her, I explained to her how she was a meme. I said, you are a living meme.
How did you explain? If I'm Wendy, how did you explain it to her?
Well, I explained it to her. I was like, I basically described it as like a caricature. I'm like, everything you do is funny and you're not trying. So that's why I call you a living meme, because you just are like, you are the essence of joy and laughter and humor, and you're not even thinking about it. Like, you're just being yourself, reacting with no filter, which sometimes got her in trouble with people, and sometimes, you know, we loved it. But like, to me, that clear authenticity of, I'm not gonna sit here and think about what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna say it. And if it makes people mad, because there's been a couple of moments that like really kind of crossed the line even, but that made her. And I always took that with me. So I explained it to her, and she was like, we had like direct eye contact, and she was holding my hand, and it was like the sweetest, like, I don't know, I just felt like almost like blessed and anointed by her in that moment, like she was seeing someone who like acknowledged the core of her intentions, of like her purpose, essentially, I think, is like, I was seeing it and like explaining it to her. And yeah, we were like talking about our cats, and she's like, oh, I don't do this Instagram thing. What's the Instagram stories? Like, I don't understand. What story are we reading on Instagram? And just like typical Wendy. And I'm like, no, that's you. Like, people want to see the cats, and they want to see you like watching Housewives. And so that did get to happen at the Tonight Show, which I'm forever grateful for. But yeah, fast forward, they were doing the documentary, and at the time I didn't really know what it was. Like, they kind of kept me in the dark of what was happening. It just was that the podcast was part of this project. It was like kind of,
well, because when the show ended, the tease was that she was going to go back to radio in the form of a podcast.
Yeah. So for me, I was brought on to produce the pilot, and that's all I knew was like, I'm going to produce the pilot. I did film one day, but again, like I really had no idea what was like the story happening.
You filmed for the doc?
Yes,
okay.
I did. And so when I watched the doc, I was actually able, because I had no idea what was going on at all. And so when I watched the doc, I was like, oh, it was like really, I don't even like thinking about it, but like I was unaware, you know? Mm-hmm. And then obviously it didn't come to fruition, but like my dream for it was huge. I'm like, you know, I did this deck, and I did branding, and I picked a color theme, and I sketched out merch ideas, and the set, like what we would put on the set, because I really pulled inspirations from her VH1 show, because like that's my blueprint, is Best Week Ever, the Wendy Williams experience, which was essentially a podcast on VH1 forever ago, like with the leopard print and like the little tiny studio. The Soup was like that is my blue, and like Jerry Springer, Mad TV, that's my blueprint. So I'm thinking like, what's the set gonna look like? What's gonna be the new chair? Because she wanted to get rid of the chair.
Yep.
Not get rid of it, but like didn't want it to be the symbol of the podcast. So the branding brain pops in. I'm like, what's it gonna be? I'm like, let's get her a throne. Like, let's have her in. Let's go back to the VH1, get her like this ridiculous throne with leopard print and the pillows, and like all of that will be the new branding. Is like literally a full circle moment back to, because in my meeting I said to them, like, she's the blueprint. Like, she had a podcast before a podcast. Like, that was a podcast. We're just going back to that. Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah. It's absolutely heart-wrenching beyond words. Like, I don't think I've been this upset about someone since like Big Ange passed away, which like didn't make, like, I tell people this. I'm like, when Big Ange passed away, I didn't want to do my website anymore, because like she was the mascot. You know, I'm saying it in like a celebratory way, like in the way that like Luann and BB Rexa are like mascots of Legends Only. Like Big Ange she was reality TV gifts to me.
Going back in your MTV days, did you ever work the VMAs?
Yeah, I did live gifts.
Okay.
So I was like they called it the War Room, which I'm sure they probably don't call it that anymore. But it was like essentially this huge room with like everyone on computers and walkies and headsets, and the machine is well oiled, and like my job was gifts. Like anything that you see on the show, clip it, cut it, post it on Tumblr right away. What
do you think the last, like with we'll use the VMAs as just like a shortcut for like awards shows, because I specifically want to talk about the VMAs. When do you think it ended? Like the era where it was must see television, memorable moments, incredible performances. Because in my mind, there's one particular show where thereafter, like, you really don't remember much.
I think the litigation between, this is like I'm taking it far, but like, I think the litigation between Viacom and YouTube was a pivot, because there was the lawsuit because people were putting like MTV content on you. This is like, I'm taking this way back for all the kids listening. Like, it's not like it used to be where like shows now, they have a rollout of like the content rolls out on every platform at the same time every single night. It did not used to be like that. So you would watch Britney Spears music videos or like clips from the VMAs on YouTube. It was like someone ripped it and you would download it on Kazaa, or you would download it on Napster, like the MP3, and then Viacom sued YouTube, and there was like that litigation, and it basically suspended all this stuff. As that's happening, artists are now publishing and premiering on like Vivo. Do you remember that? It was like Vivo premieres.
They still do that.
Instead of TRL. It used to be you went to TRL to premiere your music video.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Hilary Duff. I was there when she premiered the music video for With Love, and I was like one of 3 people who was like screaming my head off for her. But like then YouTube/Vivo became the place to premiere your music video. Mm-hmm. So now MTV is in this situation where it's like, oh shit, because they're in litigation, and it was like
they're out of the conversation.
Yeah, so like now you're falling behind, whereas you used to innovate. So I feel like that kind of had an effect. But then with award shows in general, you didn't need an award show to get press anymore. You could go and pull a stunt somewhere, or you could premiere your own stuff on your own channel. And so it just wasn't the destination to go to anymore. And so I think that definitely, you know, the joke is always like, oh, MTV, remember when they used to play music videos? And it's like, but now to play a video, there's like licensing, and it's like everything is so complicated with like streaming and music and everything now.
But with the show, with the awards show specifically, I think it died after the Madonna, Britney, Christina kiss. Like, that's the last time.
Oh, 2007 though. I mean, the Vegas one was iconic.
When she did Gimme More?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think...
There are moments...
I think 2009, I would say.
Is that...
Gaga and...
Oh, that was amazing.
Taylor,
with the
Kanye.
Paparazzi. Oh, that was the same show?
Yeah, it was Gaga on the stage with the blood. I was in the pit for that.
Doing Paparazzi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the pit for that. So it was like Beyonce Single Ladies was iconic that year. She did that medley. Madonna came out. It was the Kanye Taylor of it all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the question. When did the artists stop staying in their seats for the show? Like now they go and like the camera's on them, but then they don't.
You want a hot take and a deep dive about this?
Please.
I strongly dislike this audience cam shit. And I was working there at the time, and I remember like I'm sitting in the room, so it's like a control room like that you would see like in music videos with all the TV screens. It does look like that, and you have every camera, and so you're sitting there, and I remember in one of them I was watching Gaga, and it wasn't aired, you know, this is just like the live stream of like the feed, you know.
So everyone has a camera.
Yeah.
There are cameramen on every single.
So MTV would do this like, there was cameras behind the scenes. There were cameras on the red carpet. There were cameras in the hallways. There were cameras in the exit ramps. It was like this surveillance style coverage. And then they also had dedicated cameras on certain celebrities. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching Gaga, and I'm just like, she looks miserable. Like, and I'm like, because you have a camera shoved in her face. You cannot, like, what do you do if you have to sneeze? What if you have a booger in your nose and you need to itch your nose? Like, that happens to all of us. What if you like need to like scratch your ear? Like, you don't want to become this like made fun of joke. So you sit there and you're just like not moving. You're not having fun. You can't talk to anyone. We just saw this recently with Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez, where she whispered that thing. And then what did Taylor Swift do the next award show? She had a fan. She had a fan covering her mouth to talk to people, because you have lip readers that go and they clip this and they spread it on social media like, oh, she shaded so-and-so. You've made it miserable for these artists to sit there.
It's the just waiting for a hot mic moment.
Yes. I think like on the red carpet, if you pick your nose on the red carpet, it's a different story. Like, 'cause to me, that's like where all the photographers are. But like, can you have a break in the hallway? Can you have a break where you just sit back and have fun? Like, and dance and don't have to worry about, you know, your armpit being on camera or like an angle of you that's going to be unflattering. And like, I do think the Taylor Swift dancing of it all became kind of like the moment where it like shifted, because if you watch the VMAs in the past, the camera work was art. Like they filmed those performances like art. Very like Beyonce brought it back with that medley.
The lemonade medley.
There were not crowd reaction shots. I'm sorry, but no one in that audience is more important to see on screen than Beyonce Knowles Carter while she is doing a fucking medley. I don't need to see Sally Sue from Indiana shaking her tits. No one needs to see that. I love you, Sally Sue, but like, no. Beyonce's performing. I want to see Beyonce. So they made it this thing where like everything was cut away to these random people. And I'm like, why? Can we go back to giving like performances? Like, or, I mean, the Britney Madonna one is iconic because it's like, you know, it was the Justin of it all.
Well, that was great when they cut to him.
Yeah, but that was it. There was like that.
That was it, yeah.
And there was Kelly Osbourne and Avril Lavigne, which is also hilarious in hindsight. And that's it. But like, that's really, I think, when the VMAs lost people, because now no one wants to show up. Like, I don't blame celebrities for not wanting to go. I would be so anxious even just doing my acceptance speech and my performance, let alone, like, if I had cameras on me while I was sitting here right now, that would be fine. But then like walking out of the hallway and then like walking down the street, like, am I going to be surveilled like 100% of the time?
That's what it's like when they do the Howard Stern show. At least back when they had Howard TV, they would have them like in the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't know. I feel like
Could you imagine if I had a camera on you filming you as you walk down the street?
Yeah. I mean, if I knew, but it's like,
yeah.
The backstage like exit ramp ones were like, we're taking this too far. And I think that was the downfall of award shows, is where you've made it now extremely uncomfortable for an artist.
They used to have so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the Grammys did a much better job in recent years. They really kind of like let you sit there and enjoy the show. They're not so much trying to like Hawkeye you.
Yeah.
And I hope we get more of that, because I want it to be fun for people again.
Last two things. I mean, it's like the final act in like your sort of Renaissance man is you're now like full blown like music producer.
I'm just going with the flow.
So I remember you took an online class. That
Yeah.
was the first. What was the producer who the class that you took online? What was that?
So at the time, like, it was pandemic and the holidays were coming up, and I'm like, well, what the hell am I gonna do? What am I gonna do on Thanksgiving? What am I gonna do over Christmas? Like, if I get a day off, which, like, if I don't have anyone like down my neck, which I did. It was like the first time that I actually had days where I didn't get an email was Christmas and Christmas Eve. I remember it was like the only day that I did not have like a Slack message, a text message, an email on my personal account, an email on my work email that I had to respond to. And I was like, oh, Googling this thing, and I got a YouTube ad for Kygo teaching music production.
Yes.
And literally every single time, because my favorite thing to do, my routine was like at midnight, like once I could finally close my laptop, my work laptop, I would put Wendy Hot Topics on every single night and I would watch reruns. That was like my routine. And every time I would go to watch Wendy at night, I got this Kygo ad. It was like, Kygo teaches music production. So I'm like, well, why the hell not? What else am I going to do over Christmas break? Like, I'm sitting here alone anyway. So I signed up. It was called Monthly at the time. They've now rebranded to, I think they're called Studio is what it's called now. And it's like the same thing. You sign up for a class. It's a 30-day thing. You can rewatch everything. It's great. And so I signed up, and it gave you like pre-course material. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, I just like did all the pre-course stuff, and I like really started to get into it. Started in January, and that's when I quit. It was like, I was like, wait, I'm really into this, and I have a savings account. I need to like change it up. So I took the course, quit my job. And yeah, I was just like hooked ever since. And then like I was working idle doing the podcast, and then just like experimenting in different ways, like the Wendy remix, like the Death to All of Them, Keep on Serving. I did like a remix for American Idol, like these little I started with memes essentially, and then it just kept
blending your world.
Yeah, and I'm like just having fun with it.
Death, death, death to all of them. Death, 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 death. What was that? Death to all of them.
And now it's like, what, 4 years later? And I'm like, I still get the itch like all the time. And I'm like, clearly something's clicking there. I don't know what, but like.
It's so great.
Yeah.
And so where are you working? Like, what are you working on now? Like, do you work for like an employer?
No.
Right
So
now?
I was with Idol, and then I was consulting with a startup for a while, and I loved it. I was working one-on-one with developing artists. So I was like helping them with their social content. And then, you know, me and my team got cut from that. And then I made the decision to step away from Idol. It was a great experience. I loved it. I had so much fun, but I had more fun like working with artists one-on-one, and I couldn't do that at Idol. Like I would, especially last season, the thing that really got me was like the audience on Twitter was so horrifically misogynistic, racist, and xenophobic, and just was so cruel to these kids. There was a woman, Lucy Love, who was on last season, and just, the things that I had to read that people would tweet. And it got to the point where I was like raging, where I'm like, I can't block people because there's like all these rules and stuff. I can't block people. I can't tell people to go fuck themselves. I can't like send this young woman a message, like encouraging her. And like, it was hard on me. I'm like, this is brutal. Like, these are things that would like cause someone to quit a dream. You know what I mean? And I couldn't deal with it. And like one of the contestants, she's actually going to be in Eurovision this year, Nutza. People would literally go on Twitter and they'd be like, this is called American Idol. Go back to your country. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to like, and so she got picked for Eurovision. I'm like, fuck yeah. I knew she was a star. Like, people will see it. Like, this is an audience that will appreciate you, and you will get like, the gays will be gagging and we will be like singing your song. So that's kind of a reason why I stepped away from that, was because it was like mentally affecting me.
I mean, do you think like music is your future? Like, do you want to like see where this takes you? And
yeah, I'm kind of like, I fell into like a thing at one point where I was like way too hard on myself, of like having to have a plan and like a rollout. And now I'm just kind of like, let me just focus on what I like doing, kind of like bees to the honey, if you will. It's like, let me stop chasing, and like, why don't I just start putting stuff out, repurposing things?
Yes.
And like, you know, see what happens. Cause like I got my first remix on streaming sort of by accident. Like, and I tell people this, where I'm like, just post your stuff, cause you never know. I did a Rihanna remix, and I wanted to set up my Instagram where I could do ads, because I was finding new music through Instagram. I would be like a sponsored post, and I'm like, ooh, this is a bop. Let me follow them. And so I was like, maybe I should set this up for myself. So I set up a Meta account so that I could buy ads. And I ran a $20 test on my Rihanna remix, the little square that I made. I put $20 into it, and I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. People are gonna like judge me for running an ad. Like, I was so like nervous what my friends would like say.
what happened?
And an artist got it in their feed as the sponsored post, and sent me a DM and was like, I want you to remix my song. This is the vibe I'm going for. And I'm like,
Incredible.
And I was like, how did you find, I saw your ad for your Rihanna remix. And I was like, what? The one I spent $20 on? And that's how it happened. Like, everything that's happened, like you said, like luck, there's like an element of luck, but there's also an element of preparation that goes into it. Is like, you have to be willing
And putting things out into the universe.
Yeah, you have to constantly shove it in people's faces.
And see what comes back.
Yeah.
This has been so great. I adore you.
Thank you.
Tell everyone where they can find you, what's coming up on, I mean, Legends Only is
So Legends Only is every single week. It comes out on Mondays. We talk about like the pop culturings of the week.
This week was a big, obviously, review of Cowboy Carter.
This year has been one after the other, after the other, after the other. So there's that. The Britney podcast is evergreen. It is celebrating like the first 20 years of her career.
It's Britney, bitch.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at @tkyle, where I post like a combo of memes, stuff I'm working on.
Everyone, please follow me, JessXNYC. I have videos of tons of my interviews on YouTube. Just look for Hot Takes and Deep Dives.
And Fire Island.
Thank you for
I went to see
plug.
I went to see DJ Lena at Cafeteria recently, and when you said Card Candy before,
Yes.
I have a very distinct memory of being at Cafeteria in that era, and they had it when it like leaked before. This is
Story of Madonna's fucking life.
Story of her life. And they were playing it at Cafeteria because I'm like, oh, some gay had the MP3s.
That is funny.
And so I went to go see her on Friday night, her like
Yes.
little mini residency.
I've done that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love her.
One quick thing. Ashley Simpson. I also love Ashley Simpson.
Same.
She's doing something for the 20th anniversary of Autobiography. What are your hopes and dreams? What are your predictions?
Ooh. I do think the album needs to be remastered for streaming, because one thing I've learned through music production is there was like this age when the iPod first came out where I was actually talking to a guy who does like mixing and mastering, and he was explaining to me that there's like certain years of time where songs were mixed to sound good on the iPhone when the iPhone was like the new hot thing. So it was like meant to sound good on that one. It's like a mono speaker, to get technical. But like I sent him the song. I'm like, oh, I really love this song. And he explained to me why it sounds so sharp and like grating on AirPods or speakers now, because it was mixed to sound good on the iPod, because that was the hot new thing.
This is sort of like tangential to that. Don't you agree that music sounds better on Apple Music versus Spotify?
I can't really tell the difference.
I can tell a huge
like Atmos.
difference.
Atmos, yes.
The lossless, whatever
Yeah.
what is that?
But I think in general, just on streaming, music sounds better than like the songs from the past. Which is why they need like essentially a remaster. Is that it's just like mixing it different to sound good on,
So you think a remaster of Autobiography?
Yeah, I would do a remaster of it so it sounds, richer. I mean, it still sounds great, but doing that, some unreleased tracks, maybe some remixes. Yeah, she could do like a mini run of shows, like Webster Hall, like really the hardcore fans.
Sarah McLachlan, who I was a huge fan of and still love, I think it's the 30th anniversary of Fumbling Towards Ecstasy.
Wow.
And she's doing a huge tour with Feist, and I'm seeing her at Radio City.
Nice.
I'm a fan of all those girlies.
Yeah.
Like Ani, Fiona Apple is like it's
Yes.
like Madonna than Fiona.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we said it all. I could literally do another hour with you, but I think.
I know. I'm there's so much.
We ended this actually 10 minutes ago, but it was just so great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, thank you for having me.